Hey again, it's Brian with the 40th Lane Garden. Just a quick update on some of the things we've been working on here. So, bed-wise, we won't go through all this, but many of our plantings from seed are starting to come up. We've got our beets over here. We've got our turnips finally coming up after about 5 or 6 weeks, and the peas are. Oops, it's late day, so we got a bit of a shadow going on, but. Peas are coming along nicely, and all the winter crops over there, the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, are all doing really, really well. But the next big project here, and let me see if I can show you what we're doing. So the raised beds are, they're kind of pricey. The wood, getting everything cut and put together, really time consuming, and time these days with a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old are at a premium. So I'm going to try the next phase of the garden in ground. So right here in the around the 4 beds, I think the idea was going to be to create circular in-ground gardens, get all that soil turned over and broken up because it's very hard and hard packed clay, get a lot of the rocks out of it, and then supplement that. I found a great place in the valley. Well, have heard about a great place in the valley that sells compost really cheap, and maybe we'll tell you about that in an upcoming video. But so in and around each of these beds, we'll go with a small circular bed in between each one. So that'll give us 4 more beds, and that might lend itself to some of the stuff that needs a little room, like the melons and the pumpkins and some of the other crops that we want to put in this spring. Plus, we want to get a little garden in here for our daughter. She is really into stuff, which is a good thing, but she did dig up some of the carrot seeds in these beds. So the thought is we'll give her own little space here in the garden, and she can plant flowers, dig them up, whatever she wants to do, and that'll be her little place. But the biggest roadblock I've had so far, when I got this house, the backyard was a traditional lawn and a brick border, and then there was stuff around the side, but really it was just a plain crabgrass lawn, and that's a whole nother story, getting rid of that crabgrass. But at the time I wasn't keen to do too much work, and I definitely didn't want to keep the lawns, so we tore that out and put down, I think this is a 1/4 minus or a 1/2 minus gravel, and that's what's been covering this backyard for many, many years now. Now that it's time to start getting our garden in, I'm finding this gravel to be a real hassle. Let's see if I can show you. So I don't know how many tons of gravel we poured on this backyard, but it was way too much. And at the time, it was just kind of a way to even everything out and keep the grass down. But now that I want to get out the dirt, it's so hard to get this stuff out. So just tons and tons of gravel. Sounds like we're having a bit of a 2-year-old moment in there. But the getting down to the dirt isn't as easy as it sounds. So I get all the gravel back, but what's happened over the years is that, just the dust and the dirt in the air settle on the gravel, and that kind of forms into a hard pack to where we've got a good maybe 1/2 inch of soil and gravel mixed in. So once I get the gravel off, I then need to dig into that to get all the rest of that gravel out of the dirt to where I can get right down to bare earth. So that's proving to be a bit of a challenge. I mean, ultimately we'd like to have gardening beds all over the yard, and as you can see, the whole yard is gravel. So little by little, hopefully in the next few weeks or in time for the January planting, we'll have these 4 areas around the beds cleared out of gravel so I can start working on the ground here. Big chore. I might have to get someone in here to help me do that. Other update, we'll take a walk back here. So this little tree here, I'm still in the process of identifying. It was a volunteer, and we had no idea what it was. It's an interesting tree in that it goes absolutely berserk in the spring and summer with foliage. So it's been a nice shade tree, and then in the winter it does drop all of its leaves plus a whole bunch of seed, but fortunately that seed's never really been a problem here in the backyard, so I'm hoping all that seed falling on the beds isn't, we've got a lot of contrast there, but hopefully those seeds falling in the beds aren't a problem, but we'll see. So right now this little guy is dropping all of its leaves, and normally I would just pick those up and huck them in the garbage. Now dawned on me that that's a great source of compost material, so it's dropped most of its leaves, And I cleared a space, again, having to clear back gravel, but finally I cleared a space back here in the corner of the yard. And we'll use this as kind of an auxiliary compost. This will be a really nice area to do this because I've got the walls on two sides. And then what we'll do is come out with a little barrier to kind of pile this up and keep the kids and the dogs out. And we'll start supplementing this, supplementing this with other stuff, and hopefully start to build up a good supply of organic material that we're breaking down. So that's today's update. Right now it's just preparation mode for planting that's coming in the next few weeks. Got a whole list of vegetables we want to get going on, but we need to get some space cleared in our beds. I think and we can talk about, well, we can talk about these now. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect with the hay bale beds. So like I said in previous videos, I've got some soil and some cow manure laid down there, and I've been watering them pretty regularly. And I can tell now, it didn't really seem like it was, but all that dirt and compost or not compost, but manure is making its way into the straw. I don't know how deep it is, but I can see down the sides that it's definitely starting to seep in, and that's okay because when I go to plant, I'll definitely dig out holes, fill those with compost, planting material, and then plant in that. So it's not too critical that this stuff make its way into the beds, or into the bales. But one of the things I tried to avoid, I got straw, not hay, to avoid the seeds, and I assumed that the steer manure that I got from my local Lowe's was probably free of seed as well. But what I do see here are what I think are grass seedlings coming up. I see just a few now, but that tells me that they're going to be quite a bit. So my assumption is that the steer manure is full of seeds. So fortunately those were a buck a bag, and I only got a few. So I'll just deal with the grass as it comes up here and then not really use that anyplace else. My understanding is that I can get that into the compost, and once the compost heats up, it'll kill off that seed. I'm not too confident with that because I don't really understand the ins and outs of compost yet, so we'll just see. But it's interesting that, try as hard as we can to avoid getting some stray seeds in. It looks like they've made their way in anyway, but that's all right. So anyway, that's our update for this week. A lot of activity in the coming videos. Once we get through the holidays, get all the beds dug and prepared, then we'll really start to get into our spring crops and experimenting with those, and we'll certainly update you as some of these winter crops start to come in. So until next time, thanks for watching.